It's not plugged in.
Yes, we are live. We are live. Hallelujah, guys. Yes.
Okay.
Welcome, guys. Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the channel, guys.
Shalom.
Welcome to Testimony Thursdays, right? We haven't done this in what? I want to say a month. It's been a couple months now, so I'm glad that you guys emailed us to get us back on the track of what the Most High put on our heart to really do these testimonies, because this is something that our people really need to hear and understand that it's people, regular people over here just doing it and making, and the Most High is making a way for our people to really sustain themselves over here. So welcome, guys, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yes, if you want to introduce yourself, let the people know who you are, where you from, where you coming from, where you are in Africa too, and
Okay,
how
sure.
long you been in Africa.
Okay, sure. So my name is Brandon.
I'm Pamela. Shalom.
Shalom, and we're from Cleveland, Ohio, and we ended up relocating out of the U.S. and coming to Ghana, and specifically the Volta region, to be specific.
Okay, that's good. So when did you leave the states?
When? So we came to Ghana last year in June.
So it's been a year and 7 months,
Yeah.
right? 5 years.
Okay, so close to 2 years. That's
Yeah,
good.
close to
All
2 years
praises.
now.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
How are you guys liking it?
I like it. One thing I like about Ghana is it's pretty peaceful. It's pretty peaceful. The people they're very respectful, and they're always willing to help one another. So they're very hospitable as well. So coming from the states, we don't really see that often. People helping out one another, even if you're a stranger. Something happened. It's a group of people rushing, not to record, but to help. So we're not used to that. In the states, we're used to people rushing, pulling out their phones. They're recording, they're instigating, and things like that. But here, uh, it's just a total different mindset. It's like a family type of mindset. Even if they see a stranger, they look at them like these are my people. So and I know uh, some of these people are Israelites, some of them are Africans, quote unquote, but they look at one another like family.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Africa. Like, I always say this to people that wants to come to Africa and really understand Africa. Africa is a big community. So even wherever you go in the world, so just say if you go, if you are an American and you come to Africa, they're going to teach you how to be a community. And even if you are an African going to America, they're going to be a community of Africans. So even in the country that we're in, there's a community of Nigerians, there's a community of South Africans. And it's like, wow, it's so crazy coming from the States where we don't have that at all. Even as
Hmm.
African Americans, it's like separate. So when you come to Africa, it's just like a whole community, and that's just it's just a lovely feeling to have that. Like it's really the scriptures right in our face. Like the word is just right here in Africa, like living
Yeah.
day to day. So
Yeah.
yes, I definitely understand that.
This is
So
how we were meant to be. Like a community.
yes, exactly. That's that's why I always tell people we have to get back to Africa's, uh, so Africans can teach us how to um, be a community. Like it's so hard for our people to, and I'm saying African Americans because that's where we're from. We're from America. It's so hard for our people to grasp and see a community. But once you come here to Africa, that's all that you see. It's literally Ezekiel 37, the two sticks coming back together, like teaching each other how to be one. So it's just a good thing to see, a good thing to feel.
It is. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. So you guys have children, married?
Yes.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we have
How many
four
children do you guys
daughters.
have?
We have four daughters, to
Mhm.
be specific. The last one was born here in Ghana. Because when we came over, I was 6 months pregnant, and then so ended up having her while we were here, and she's one. Yeah, in November she turned one. So it's been a
Okay.
blessing. It's been a true blessing.
What?
Yeah,
Yes.
and we've
Was that
been
a home
married.
birth?
No, I wanted to go the home birth route, but the two prior to her were emergency C-sections, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think they were emergency. I think it was just circumstances that happen, like when our women have children in the States. And so, to play it the most safest way, I ended up finding just a good hospital out here to go to have her. So
Mhm.
I did consult with a midwife, a doula, but because of the other two, I ended up just saying, okay, I'm just going to go to the hospital. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a
That's
torn
definitely wise
situation.
to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And as far as marriage, we've been married for 6 years. So we got married fairly quickly after meeting, and we think that was just the spirit too, because you want to tell your age?
Yeah. So I'm 35.
And I'm 32. So when we met, we were different than our peers and our surroundings. We didn't want to just be shacking up kind of thing, and not yet. We weren't yet into the scriptures, like into the truth of the Bible and things. So we think it was just the spirit moving within both of us that was like, yeah, let's get married. And then from there, the Most High brought him into the walk, and then I came in shortly after. And then we fast forward. Well, I don't want to go ahead of you as far as why we came to Ghana, but that was the marriage part of it. So,
Mhm. Yeah. You can.
but
You can go ahead. You can go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, okay. So, we get married. You fast forward until a year and 7 months ago. And so I was walking home from school. I was probably about 12 or, yeah, got off the bus stop, walking home from school. I'm only like a few blocks away from my house where we live. And so I just felt this very, and excuse my face because I'm just reliving it. I just felt this very eerie feeling over me, like someone was watching me. And I heard a voice that said to run. And so I'm like, but you tell a Hebrew to run, and we're like out of there. So I'm like, and then you just go. And so I don't know till still to this day what that feeling was about, but it felt definitely like an unsafe type of situation. And so you fast forward right before we came here, and we had just purchased our house, our family home. We haven't been there for that long, but I was doing all the decorating, all the things that wives do. And so shortly after that, I'm just making up the bed midday. And I'm watching this video of Alita Israel that came up on YouTube. And I'm like, people actually move to Africa? Like, I'm just thinking, like, oh, that's nice. I didn't think much of it. And then another day, another one pops up. And you know how YouTube generates things. Like, if you watch something, it will generate that into your the programming,
Yeah.
and so it will continue to come up. It wasn't like that. Like Africa just popped up out of nowhere. And so after the second time, I go in prayer and I'm like, okay, Most High, I see something that's popped up twice. I have no plans of moving to Africa, never thought of it. Because some couples, I think you guys even said that you had thoughts of always moving or something like that. For us, it wasn't like that. We were preparing for the times to come, like in our home, like storing food, storing water. We were doing all that. Solar panels. We were doing all those things. So we were preparing for the times to come in our house that we were at. And so back to the story. I hear the same exact voice, the same exact tone and everything, um, saying to run again. And so I'm like, okay, this must be confirmation. And so I go to him and I'm like, what do you think about if we move to Africa? And then you want to tell your part of the story after
Yeah.
that?
So I'm sitting on the couch, pretty much just like this, and she walked up and she She said, Brandon, she said, how do you feel about moving to Africa, moving to Ghana? I looked up and I said, let's do it. It's like I didn't even really even think about it. I've never thought about moving to Africa. We thought about moving out of Cleveland one time, out of Ohio, and we couldn't never come to an agreement on which state to go to. But when she said, "How do you feel about moving to Ghana?" I looked up. I said, "Let's do it. Let's get out of here." And at that time, I'm storing up a lot of food in our basement, a lot of canned goods, because around this time, like news about bricks is starting to come about, and I'm keeping up with bricks. And then I'm purchasing, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but I'm purchasing some things for self defense. And I was starting to teach my wife at that time, and I'm just like, is our oldest daughter old enough to start learning this? Because when it comes to the other nations, they teach their children self-defense at a very young age. So I'm like, maybe I should start teaching my daughter and things like this. This is before we spoke about going to Africa. And sorry, the children just walked past. But yeah, so I'm thinking like, self-defense and things like that. But the thing about America is our people were not united at all. So if something goes down, it's basically you against everyone, or everyone against you and your household. So I mean, what do you do when you're low on resources to defend yourself? It's only you and your household. When it comes to some of the other nations, they can look at each other and they'll be on one accord with each other, even if they don't like each other, even if they are like enemies. They'll look at each other, they'll get into agreement with each other, and they'll look at you and they'll say, let's take them out and let's settle our differences later. So and also this what's going on in the world is it's more so spiritual. It's not so much physical, it's more so spiritual. So that's what I had to realize. I had to just get back deeper into the scriptures and realize that this is more of a spiritual matter than anything. But of course, if someone comes to you, defend yourself, of course. But it's not all about that.
Okay, so yeah, so when he was like, "Okay, let's go," we know according to scripture in a marriage, when we both agree on something and it's not any sin or anything, it's righteous judgment. It's like, okay, it can be done. So the thought came from the Most High to me, and then I asked him, "What do you think?" And then so we both agreed in that moment. We got like right to work with selling things, passports, because we didn't have our passports prior either. So passports, we're going to the post office, doing all that, and within 6 months, we were on a plane, touchdown in Accra. And even still from the journey of not really knowing if it was from the Most High, I'm like, I heard the voice, but I'm like, I didn't second guess it, but I was waiting still for confirmation, if that made sense. Like I knew it was him, but I'm like, okay, I still like want a second if that makes sense. Like I knew it was him, but still. So while we were getting ready to move, I want to say this is a month before we leave. And so we're just both still and sound in a room. I'm in one room, he's in another room. And we heard a voice say that it was time to go. Like I heard it first. 2 weeks pass, then he hears it, and then he comes to me. We didn't discuss it. Then he comes to me and he's like, I heard a did you come to me or I came to you?
You came to me first.
Oh, okay. So I heard a voice, 2 weeks pass, and then he hears it. And then I come to him and I'm like, I heard a voice that said it was time to go like 2 weeks ago. And he was like, I heard that same voice. And so we was like, okay, well, we were already we had the plane booked and everything. So
For me, the voice in my head, when I first heard it, it was like 2, 3 in the morning, and back then I used to stay up late, but now I'm more like I go to bed earlier, but wake up much earlier. And I heard a strong, deep voice. It said, "It's time to go. It's time to go." And then some days later, I heard it again. It said, "It's time to go." And we were just like, it's time to go. So the moment we were financially ready to leave the States, we booked our flight 2 weeks out, and that was just to sell some things and give some things away and spend a little bit of time with family. But once we were financially ready, we booked our flight 2 weeks later, and we were out of here. But in the beginning of our decision to come to Ghana, I had a dream. I had a dream that my wife was pregnant, and she was actually showing while we were boarding the airplane. And at this time, we didn't even know that she was pregnant or anything. So when we were going through like our trials of trying to get out of America, like even in America, when you have a few assets, it's still difficult to get out, because it's like you got all of these bills every month, and you're trying to figure this out and figure that out and get everything situated. So when we were waiting on our last passport and going through hurdles with that, um, I was comforted, because I had the dream that we like we weren't going to leave until she was actively showing as pregnant, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So the dream came to pass. So we were trying to leave the states as soon as possible. Once we decided that day to leave, we got busy really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, he came to me. He's like, I had a dream you were pregnant, and we didn't plan on having any more children.
No.
So I'm like, oh, you did? I'm like, oh, okay. And so, and when he said that, it was like, okay, but we ended up leaving when I was 6 months pregnant, and I was actively showing and everything. And I'm just like, oh. So that was the third confirmation, actually. So we know biblically it says 2 to 3 witnesses. So we had already, before we touched down, had 3. We had
Wow.
we had my experience when I was 12 resurface back and say a moment that was familiar with me, and then he came to us individually, the same voice, which we didn't even discuss until after he heard it, and then his dream. So that was 3. So yeah, and here we
Wow.
are now, a year and 7 months
Yeah.
later in Ghana still. So I
Yes,
actually
that's
thought
a
about
blessing.
Tanzania, where you all are, though. It's beautiful over
What it
there.
was.
Well, where you were, it's beautiful over there. And I was like, I prayed on it. I didn't get nothing back, so Ghana it was. I was like, okay, that's fine. So yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, that's a beautiful testimony.
yeah.
Does it seem like it's been over a year? How long does it seem like it's been since you've been in Ghana?
There's me personally, I feel like it's a time shift going on right now. Like the time is speeding up. And so I feel like it's weird. I feel like it's longer than what it's been, honestly. I feel like it's been like 4 years. I know that sounds weird, but I'm like, even when we first landed, I'm like, I feel like I've been here before. Like, I feel like I've been here,
Wow.
and I just can't pull it together or something. That's just me personally. You can answer what you think.
Yeah, it's like the days are speeding up. Once we look at the clock, it's morning time, and then we look at the clock again, it's 3 p.m. It's like, I don't know if you two feel the same way, but it seems like time is definitely speeding up. The days are getting shorter.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we I know we always say like, man, something is like everything's speeding up. If something happens, it's probably gonna happen tomorrow. If something happens, look, it's not
Yeah,
no
yeah.
next year. It's coming down to the months, the weeks, and the days. So that's just a blessing to hear you guys like, especially when you're very in tune with the Most High, and He sends
Yeah.
you visions and tells you, hey, this is gonna happen, although you didn't know right then. And then when it came to pass, you like, oh wow, like
Mm.
that's what that meant. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
man,
I
that's
just
like
wonder if we act
Yeah.
in disobedience, where it would have led us, because then it would have been like, you know what I mean? Like, so I know you guys mention the Abraham story very often. One thing I will say, if you're coming, read about Abraham before, just to get that spiritual back behind you, because he did this journey already. But
Yeah.
I wonder, like, oh wow, so had we been in disbelief or disobedience, we wouldn't have got any
yeah,
part of it for the most. You know what I mean? That's a scary place to be, where you kind of fall out of his order that's for you. Not saying it'll be perfect or any of that. Africa is not for the weak, but you got to be in alignment where he wants you to be, and it's things he wants you to
Mm.
learn along the journey. And I'm like, I can see what he wanted us to grow in and all of that.
Hmm.
So it's a blessing.
It really is. And then how are the kids liking it so far? How old are your children?
Yeah, their ages range from 1 to 11. So 11,
Okay.
5, soon to be 3, and 1 years old. 1 year old.
Yeah.
So they love it.
Okay,
They love the
awesome.
weather.
Ours range.
Yeah, they love the weather because coming from Cleveland, it's very cold. Like even now, it's probably snowing over there, snowing and raining and icy and all of that. So they enjoy the really hot weather and being able to be outside, year round. They love that.
Yeah. I did too before we
Yes,
moved. I
yes.
asked the 10-year-old, she was 10 at the time. I explained it to her, not too deep, but I'm like, how would you feel if we moved? And just to get her insight and to make sure she was comfortable. And from the start,
Mm.
even her spirit was in the right place. She was like, yeah, I would like that. And since we've been here, as a mother, just keeping her grounded. This is why, this is where we're reading, praise and worship. She stays
Yeah.
in the right alignment and all that. So it wasn't like a pull or tug thing, because you don't really want to put the child in that situation to where they're like, what? And she was like, oh, even telling her friends, like, I'm moving, So she was ready too, and I was proud of her because I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So
Mhm.
it's a blessing. It's been a blessing. It's been a lot of lessons, a lot of undoing our disobedience from forefathers and mothers for even being in that land. But it's been a true, true blessing. I really can't complain at all. And then you see the sun every day. That alone changes your mood. I feel like that
Mhm.
alone. So
Absolutely. Do you guys feel at home in Ghana? How did you feel when I know you said it felt familiar, but when you got off the plane, how did you feel amongst the people? Did you feel at home or did you feel like, oh, I'm in a foreign country?
I was just like, wow, we really moved to another country, and I was just really, really enjoying the weather, the scenery, how respectful the people are, how everyone looks at you like a brother, they may even call you daddy, not in a romantic type of way, but like as a sign of respect. They'll call you daddy or uncle or brother, and it's like coming from the States. It's not so much about the title, it's just the respect level is there. They're calling you names as family, like they look at you as family, and just another testimony on my part, living in the States, I had really bad migraine headaches for like several years. And the moment we landed here, in our hotel room, like the second day, I had a really bad migraine. But after that, my migraines have been reduced by like 90 something percent. Like I barely get migraine headaches now. So like when people talk about like coming back to the States and, oh, why don't you come back and work and make some money and this and that, I'm like, no way. Like we've been called out of that place, and I've received a couple dreams that, and each dream about going back to the States, I'm going to go visit family and things like that. And then immediately a war start. And then I'm stuck in the States with my family in Ghana. And it's like, what a nightmare would that be? So I just feel like if I was ever convinced to go back, I think that dream would come to pass. It would be a war,
Wow.
and I'll get stuck. So I'm not chancing it.
Okay.
Facts,
Yeah.
for
facts.
me, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. For me, I felt comfortable, but I felt new. Like I was in the middle. I felt new, but I felt like I had already been here before or something, even though we never even visited Africa, one continent at all. So it's still strange, honestly. It's weird. It's hard to explain it. It's like a familiar place that's unfamiliar,
Mhm.
you know. I'm sorry, someone said, do we speak tree? Before we came, we started learning tree. So we speak it small, small. But once we moved, it's another language. So
Yeah,
now the language is airway.
in a way.
So
Yeah, so I'm learning airway a little bit. It's pretty difficult, And that's the thing about the local people here. You can meet someone that know 4 or 5 different languages. Like that's the norm
Yeah.
for people living in Africa. So being in your 30s trying to learn another language, it's a little difficult, you know. And then the people,
Yeah.
they almost try to like, they'll strongly encourage you to learn the language. So as I'm seeing people passing, they're speaking to me in Elway, and it just kind of forced me to be like, all right, I need to just start learning the language, you know, instead of having someone translate things for me. I need to just start learning the language, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I know the language is very important when you come to an African country, but it's hard, especially like just like you said, when you're comfortable pretty much in your ways. You're 30.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's very hard to learn. Like, just say for our teenager, he knows Swahili perfect, but for us, it
Wow.
was so hard to try to grasp and learn. Like, it took us what, maybe 3 years to try to really get like a conversation out. But for him,
Yeah.
it's just easy. Like, till this
Yeah.
day, he still knows Swahili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, the language in Tanzania. That's the language in Tanzania.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Kiswahili.
You know, I'm wondering if that's a spiritual thing because sometimes here when they talk, we're learning it small, so we don't know like a full sentence or how to like maneuver a conversation yet. But sometimes when they talk, I can like listen and pick up on what they said just based off of maybe body language or
Mm-hmm.
how they speak or what they're looking at,
Yeah.
those type of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you know, I was out in town or whatever, and two people were talking. It was a man and a woman talking, and they're speaking in Elway, and then all I hear is he looks over at me, and he goes fair skin. So I'm like, was he just talking about me? Like, because I'm not all that dark. You know, they consider me fair skin here. You know, so he's just talking, and then he's like such and such, such and such fair skin. So I'm like, wow, I need to start learning the language. You know, because you never know, what people are saying around you. You know, they're talking about you. You know, and things like that. And once they see me, they automatically assume I know the language because of my skin complexion is closer to theirs.
Yeah.
But for the rest of my family, like my wife is like, um, three of our daughters is light skinned, and one of them is closer to my skin complexion. So when I'm with them, they look at us as like foreigners because all of them are light skinned. But when I'm by myself, they consider me like, okay, he's a local. Let's talk to him in another language, you know. So that's how that is.
Wow.
Yeah. Hmm. No, we didn't. But y'all willing, I want to look into it for the next go around. Y'all willing? I do think that's very important, and for those who feel led to come to Africa, led to come to Ghana, I do believe there's a way to gain dual citizenship while you're still in the states. So that's definitely something to look into if you can afford it. Is just get your dual citizenship while you're still in the states.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. 25 is definitely going to be.
yeah, yeah, and biggest culture shock. Hmm.
That's a good question. Um, Give me a minute to think.
Biggest
Yeah,
culture
Culture
shock.
yeah, yeah.
shock.
Good.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I haven't personally drove since we've been here. I was just like, but the driving is a bit. He can speak on it, but it's a lot to get used to. The difference in the driving. We're used to, and I don't miss it at all. I'm not pondering on America, but the lighting process, they often get people out there to maneuver traffic. It's different here. It's kind of just like you
Yeah.
communicate with people without communicating. And it's like, you know when to go, they know when to go.
Yeah, it's different.
I was
They do their own thing here, but it works. You know, it works
Yeah.
It
well.
works.
Like
Yeah.
when we first came to Ghana, we were living in a crowd for the first 3 months, and the roads are not the best at all. And like people are like swerving to the left, and then they swerve to the right to dodge the potholes. But it's like it works, you know. And I'm just like, how is this allowed? Where sometimes they even go to the opposite side of the street in the other direction, and then they'll hurry up and cut over, and so it's very nerve wracking. Like when you first get here, it's very nerve wracking, but you learn to get used to it, and then before you know it, now you're swerving to the left, and now you're swerving to the right, just like the locals.
Yeah.
But in this part of Ghana, in the Volta region, the roads are much better. So
Okay.
the roads are much better, and I was shocked, going to a much smaller town, much smaller city. The roads are much better, but they still kind of do their own thing here, and what's shocking to me is like if traffic gets a little jammed up for whatever reason, like people will come out and direct traffic. Just a person walking down the street, they'll come out and they'll put their hand up and they're waving people like, "Come on, you come, you stop, you go this way," and I'm just like, wow, they'll just come and direct traffic, and people will listen, and if there's
Yeah.
if there's ever any like disagreements, you don't really see a whole lot of disagreements here, but when you see them, like a crowd will rush in to mediate and break it up. It's a total different culture. In the States, they're instigating, they're pulling out their cell phones, oh, they're getting ready to fight. But here they're like, no, boss, calm down. It's okay. They're breaking up the disagreement, so it's just that brotherly love, like basically none of this is worth fighting over. It's not even worth arguing over. Let's discuss this and handle this peacefully.
Yeah, and that's a huge culture shock that we'll add in the area of driving because they lie about the size of Africa. It's huge. Like just to get to some place is hours. That's a big one for me. Like we're used to just going down the street, hopping on the freeway, getting there quick. For here, no, there's no getting anywhere quick. And like literally someone said before we came that if you want to get things done here just for your own mental sanity, set one thing a day. Like if it's not in
Yeah.
your own power in your own house and you have to go out to do it, set one thing a day because you can't get like 3, 4 things done in one day. Just because of the distance of driving and all of that, like it's huge. And I'm like, we're in Ghana, but I'm like, I couldn't imagine the whole continent. Like, so when we were given land, like in the Bible, and it said from this water to this water, I'm like, this is a
Right.
lot of land. It's just like wow. It's beautiful though. It really is. Yeah. So
Yes,
the
yes.
distance and the driving, I would say, were, and I don't even drive, but when he drives, I'm like, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, the driving is a huge culture shock. And I think that's just something all over Africa because they just kind of do what they want, but somehow they don't get in crashes. Like I saw a video,
Right.
I don't know what state it was in, but these two drivers just collided into each other, but the road wasn't filled with traffic. So it's like, how did they collide into each other like that? When in Africa, they'll like curve, go this way, everybody's doing their own thing, but somehow everybody's still safe for the most part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely got to be a driver to understand how to drive in Africa. Like
Yeah.
for real.
Too much.
Yeah.
That's too much work.
Tiffany, do you drive? Do you drive?
In
here?
Africa, no ma'am. No
Okay,
ma'am.
yeah. Most of the women that's diaspora that I know, they're like, no. They're like, no, I'll catch a ride or
Yeah.
and it's not an attempt because we know how to maneuver. Like being over there has
Yeah.
made our women like strong and we get all that. But it's like now we rather take the back seat to certain things when we
Yeah.
come back over here. And driving for me is one. I'm just like, no. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone said, do we have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, we do.
Get up that one. That's
Lady J, we do have a
that's
YouTube
not
channel. It's called We Shall See Zion.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to check it out.
Yeah,
We shall
we'll
see
drop it in
Zion.
the
Okay.
description after the live. Make sure we get all the
Yeah.
information. We just drop in the description. Um, yeah. So do you guys have a business? Do you guys do anything? Like what's your business of sustaining yourself in Ghana?
So pretty much, I was a real estate agent in the States. So Me, I came over with a real estate type of mindset naturally. So
Let us know if you guys can hear us. I know it's counting, but I'm not sure if we
I think
froze
they froze.
or if they froze. Please let us know in the chat.
I think that's a good conversation, though.
Yeah.
It's like no matter where you go in Africa, the overall culture is similar.
Yeah,
especially with the driving.
Yeah, that's why I was like, that's an understanding. I love going places, and there's an understanding of just
African culture.
Yeah, just Africa.
Yeah, for sure.
So are we good? Are we good?
People can see us; they can't see them because our I can see the timer.
Yeah, we're kind of okay. So
But
if
yeah, they'll probably
anything,
be
yeah,
back.
they'll probably be back on. Yeah. So yeah, they'll probably be back on. But yeah, guys, make sure you like the video. This is our family in Ghana. You know, as I said at the beginning, we're bringing back Testimony Thursday. So if you guys have, or if you want to come on Testimony Thursdays and you've been here in Africa and you got a testimony to share, please email us and let us know what's going on.
Yes,
in your
if you've been in
situation.
Africa over a year specifically, the time goes by so fast though, like it's so true. But I think more so the time has, for me personally, 2024 like flew by.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
It's sped up.
slow down, like come
It's
on.
sped up like 2020. It seemed 2020. We landed here in Africa August 2020.
Yeah.
2020 seemed like a whole year, but it's
like
only
it was
been
so slow.
It's only been what, August?
Right, it was only August, 4 months.
4 months, 5 months, but that time seemed like so slow. 2021 slow. 2022
picked up a little.
It started to pick up. So everything just started to like really, really like pick up. Like I don't know if you guys feel it over there. If you are in the States, if you are in America, but here, I'm sorry. Look, our tripod is messed up.
We had just bought it.
We just bought it. Look, this is the struggle, guys. We just bought a new tripod, and then today somebody stepped on it, and then one of the legs is limp, so it don't stand up straight. So yeah, that's why I was holding it this whole time, but I kind of figured something out. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, the time I'm like, man, I'm like, Father, but I think it has to do with the last days and the times that we're coming to in 2025. That's why we keep saying, like, y'all need to be ready for 2025.
Yeah,
like, and the UFOs, it's like, y'all, the signs of the times.
Look, it's speeding up, so don't get caught. I know Brandon, he was talking about how like he had a dream or something like that where he will get stuck in the States, and I feel like this is a time where if you're not acting on what the Most High is trying to tell you, if you're not being obedient, and really you gotta be obedient and sacrifice your life that you have in the States, your comfortability that you have in the States, and move if the Most High is telling you to do that.
Yeah.
Because we know lots of people that just goes with the flow and the trend of Africa, but I feel like it's a time of like a calling of like the last little bit of people that need to get out.
I think it's going to be a lot of it. I think it's going to be because the way that just the increase in people coming into Africa, from what I see since 2020, like there's people that I would speak to on Instagram that just Africa wasn't on the radar. But now I go down my business timeline, everybody's like, how can I get out of this country?
Yeah.
They like, how can I get out? They want to go to Ghana. They want to go to Kenya. They want to go to South Africa. They like, look, just get me out. Just find me the closest route to get out. They're like, I'll figure it out along the way. Because it's like, as soon as your finances are good, you're really good as long as your mindset is there. I think the issue that people have with return, like, you're lukewarm. You're like, oh, but I could always go back. If your mind says, oh, I could always go back to America, you'll be living there.
Yeah, you're gonna be back.
You'll be there. versus somebody that moves in there. And I think it matters a lot, the level of visions and dreams. I know it's something that like it's hard for people to understand, but it's like when you're called, you're called. When you're chosen, you're chosen. When you have that level of dreams, like Brother Brandon was just talking about, where the Most High will literally show you, hey, if you come back here, you're gonna be stuck. When you have that level of dream, I had a dream similar to that leaving in 2020, but it was during the pandemic. I had a dream we were in a parking lot at Kroger, because from Ohio, Kroger is the grocery store. But we were at Kroger and we were trying to get out. It's like trying to get out. We got out at the last second. I remember thinking, oh, now that I got out, I will never go back. Like when the Most High deals with you on that level for where you're trying to go, man, it's like nothing can stop you, because it's not even you really prescribing your path. It's the Most High's path that He's already prescribed for you.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's really something, because the remnant is going to continue to move from faith to faith and glory to glory as they're moving on the continent.
Really?
They're going to continue to expand, develop, have networks, have different territories they're in. And that's what the Most High is raising up in these last days, because have y'all seen this stuff about these UFOs and stuff? Oh my child.
Well, no, it's not UFOs. It's not
UAEs, whatever it's called, UAPs.
It's drones. It's just simple drones and stuff. Whatever they trying to.
Nah, that ain't no drone, man.
Yeah,
it's no drone.
Stuff is like really.
That's not
hitting
a drone.
the fan, or I say hitting the sky, because like man, like what is really going on? Like what is really going on? They ain't never talked about this so much, but now the last couple weeks. They're talking about everything that's happening, and it's not good. It's just not good. Let's put it like that. It's just not good. So you gotta find your place of safety. Like really, you really gotta find your place of safety. And we suggest that you just go where the resources are. So yes, let's welcome them back, guys. They're coming back in the chat. Make sure you like the video if you are in the chat. We greatly appreciate the likes.
Yeah, like you said, go where the resources are.
Yes, you have to go where the resources are.
You gotta go where it makes sense.
Exactly.
And that's
Africa
always
just makes sense.
That's always gonna be Africa.
Always.
It's always gonna be Africa. It's the only place that makes sense.
Always. Like really.
Nowhere else really makes sense if you look at it. You look at Europe. Well, I don't know why anybody want to go to Europe anyway, but it's all.
Okay, can you hear us? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, now okay. I think I hit. I don't know how I hit it. How I hit that thing way over.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, all good. Yeah, we were just talking and telling the people in the chat like you have to go where the resources are in these last days, because 2025 is rapidly coming. Like it's coming super fast. Just how you guys were talking about time is speeding up, we feel the same way. Like when we first landed here in Africa, August 2020, we felt like that little time of August 2020 to January 2021. That felt like a year. But 2024 felt so fast. Like it's
It really
been a year
did.
since we landed pretty much in a new country.
Yeah,
It really went fast.
I'm like, how?
Yeah. For me, I just think about all the scriptures that says how this is the chosen generation and all that is said to happen in that time. It's like it's definitely crunch time. And so being flesh, like being human, we're still trying to figure out, all right, so where do I align myself, how to put myself here, how to get in the right spots as the time is speeding, and you know what I mean, fitting it all into alignment. So I feel like that's been my struggle even more than the move. Still trying to figure out how to maneuver and be in the right spot and place, keeping the Most High first, all of that. Yeah. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you were
that's
asking
true.
about. Brandon's going to get back in with the topic of the sustainability. And so for me, what I'll say in that regard is it's an entrepreneurship place. Like America teaches us how to be worker bees. And we were just talking about this, like even from young childhood, it teaches you get up on this time. And don't get me wrong, I'm the early bird gets the worm and all that, and that's great. But it just teaches you that, I mean, even in school, the lunch break, and then it's similar to the work break. It's like it teaches you to be worker bees. So when you come to an environment that's about entrepreneurship only, basically, you have to learn how to maneuver in that way. And a lot of our people, though, we are entrepreneurs over there. But when you come here, it's a different form of entrepreneurship that you got to get into. So I'm sorry, he wanted to
Yeah.
speak on that.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with, working a job, of course. You have to take care of your family, you have to take care of yourself, of course. But for the majority of my working years was working a 9 to 5 in the banking system and things like that. So I just took that knowledge and switched on over to real estate, and then I just, took it from there. So, to try to come here and work a job, you know, okay. So, the Most High, of course, He can work out anything for you. It's just, it'd be difficult to get a job. And then once you do get a job, the wages, the cost of living, and the dollar versus the local currency, you're going to feel like, you're working basically for free. So you have to
Yeah.
come over with that entrepreneurship mindset, or if you're retired, you're on Social Security, things like that. I mean, Ghana, I'll speak on Ghana specifically because that's what we know so far. Ghana would be great for you if you have some type of reoccurring income coming in, especially because here, it gets challenging, trying to think of different ways to make money. And the most two rainy seasons have been kind of disappointing. So, I've been getting into farming and things like that. I've invested in land. I have land for sale and things like that, and just trying to prepare the land for a time when the market of beast comes. It's the market of beast, or let's just say the U.S. dollar crashes. All those things are coming very soon, whether we want to believe it or not. So I'm just trying to, set some land aside, get it self sufficient, and one of the things the Most High put on my spirit was one of the things the Most High put on my spirit was to invest in livestock. So we bought some sheep and some goats and things like that, and we have a small group of people that's been contributing towards livestock and chickens and things like that. So we're just looking to take care of ourselves in the times to come, for when nobody can work, nobody can hustle, nobody can run a business. You can't buy or sell. Just think, like, if you can't go to the store for 2 weeks, just think of how that will feel. But we're looking at 3 years, 3.5 years possibly. And I know some people in the faith, they may think a little differently with the time frame, but we have to be thinking of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tons of things to
Absolutely,
do.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's tons of things to do when you have an entrepreneurship mindset here. It really is. Like if you just be patient and go around and observe, you'll be able to pick on up on things very quickly. You just think back to your natural self, or what works for you, what you've loved since you were a child, and then you just watch and you see where you can come into play at, and then you can thrive.
But just don't, like, before you come, let's just say you have some money saved for a business venture. Don't think like, oh, I have several different business ideas. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, just come here first and scope out the land and get to know the people. What do they like? What do they like to buy? What do they like to invest in? Before you just go all out opening up a business and the people can't afford your product, or they have no use for it. So just take time out to see the lay of the land and see how people do it in South Africa, see how people do things in Tanzania, see how people do things in Ghana. And then that way, you'll know what you should or should not get into.
Exactly. That's such good advice. I think that's something more diaspora should do. Just take that at least that first 6 months to just look and see what's around them, to even understand the market research piece. Because even if you start a business in America, you really have to get that market research piece together, because that's literally the foundation for everything. So even more so when you're going to a new continent, a new country where you're not used to the culture, the language, just like watch and see how things go, see how people move, like you said, see what they need, see what's going on the ground. That's such a good piece of advice.
Yeah, it's like one thing I learned in one of my accounting classes is like, are people willing and able to buy your product? You know, if they're willing, that's great, but can they buy your product is a whole nother piece, you know. So I've had a ton of ideas coming here. I'm like, oh, I don't see this, you know, but we have that in America. Maybe we can do something like that. It's just not good. It's not good to think like that, you know. And they're not really, and they're not extremely big on like entertainment here. Like entertainment for them is kind of like watching like a sports game or something like that. But entertainment for us, you know, coming out of the States is like going to this place with the children, going here, going there, you know. So it's just a total different mindset, you know. So please don't come over spending a ton of money on an entertainment business, but whatever you want to do, you know, pray about it, put the Most High first, and He'll lead you and He'll make a way for it to prosper, you know. So I will say that.
Patience and putting the Most High first. Well, putting the Most High first and then patience will go a long, long, long way.
Yes. Yeah. I'll definitely look. It's following the ancient path. Just how you was talking about livestock, land is really that. You really just have to really seek to do that. Of course, have that entrepreneur spirit and mindset, but I believe we're just getting back to that. Getting land, sustain yourself. Have the
Yeah.
livestock, have your own food grown. That's
Yeah.
just what we really need, especially coming from America, because we're not used to that. You know, you come
Hmm.
here to Africa, you see it everywhere. That's just the culture of Africa. You know,
Hmm.
so that's something that us as African Americans coming to Africa just have to get used to. You got to know the seasons. You got to know the
You gotta get
seasons.
used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something, you know, in regards to getting land and planting things, just to give people an idea of what you can do, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Like I planted some banana and plantain trees. I planted one banana tree when we first got to Volta a year and 4 months ago, and it's already bearing fruit, and it has already sprung forth 3, 4 other banana trees. And now they're getting ready to spring forth fruit. And then the plantain tree we planted, we've already harvested the plantain. And just think, it only costs 10 CDs to plant a banana or plantain tree. And then within 12 months, you can harvest it. And not only will you harvest it, it will spring forth 3, 4 other plants for you. And it costs less than a dollar. Less than a dollar.
Yeah.
So essentially,
Wow.
so yeah, so for the cost of like 50 cents, roughly, or 75 cents, you plant a tree. That tree, it can feed your family for years to come. And that's only just one tree.
Exactly.
That's only just one
Yep.
tree. So, you know, we gotta get out of that you know, that city boy mindset, and we gotta, like you say, take it back to how our forefathers, you know, from a man's perspective, take it back to how our forefathers took care of their families and how they were able to have 8, 9, 10 children. Not saying that that's our goal or anything, but you know, they were able to have a ton of children and not be stressed out, you know, because they lived off their land, they had their livestock and things like that. You know, so feeding their family, it was no big deal.
Yeah. I had a question for y'all just based off that topic alone. I'm like spiritually too though. How do you guys feel? Like, do you feel also it's like don't get too comfortable in one place type of thing? Because I've been feeling that recently, and I'm just like, okay, so well, we got all the animals and stuff. Well, the animals just gonna get up and go. Like, if we need to,
Yes, yes, they will.
you know,
We'll
like
pack up the
we
animals.
read that in the like we read that in the scriptures though, where they like all the animals, everybody just went on the journey, and I'm just like,
But
Right.
you got to think about Jacob and Esau. When Jacob went to make a peace offering to Esau,
You got
he gave him 300 female sheep and 30 male sheep and 50 goats. And then Think about Abraham and Lot. Think about Abraham and Lot. When they were traveling, they brought hundreds and hundreds of livestock with them. So it's just we have to recondition our minds. Like my wife, she don't fully understand like the animals like that. Like that's something that I just started to be passionate about. But I know the vision. Like when it's time to go, you put a rope around them and you're gone. And they can eat and drink along the way. And then when we get hungry, we'll eat along the way as well. So that's how I look at that. They'll come with us. Y'all willing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely, slow travel. And, it's such a blessing to even be able to have this conversation. Like, do we ever think when we were teenagers or kids that we would be talking about, hey, should we visit a new territory in Africa with our belongings and explore the motherland? Like, it's just a blessing to be able to be in this position, even have these conversations that mimic what our ancestors were doing. It was like, we've been blessed with all this territory. Are we supposed to explore this new area in this next phase,
Right.
or what is your
Or stay
calling on our
put,
life right
or
now? So even just hearing that, it's such a blessing. That's something that we think about as the years go by. Like, it's so interesting how we have this ability to think like this. Because I know, like living in America, when you look, we came from Ohio as well, Columbus. We were not thinking, oh, let's go check out Massachusetts. Oh, let's go check out California. We were just like, no, let's not get out of here.
Yeah.
yeah, we were stay put people. Like even in the US, we didn't hop around a lot. We weren't traveling all the time. We were like pretty stay put people. And so
Yeah.
for people to actually know us, like I know some people they've always wanted to come to Africa. And so I'm like, oh, okay, it just popped into my mind. I never even had looked into it or anything. So now, like you said, to actually be able to have these conversations and such, when it was just like literally a thought in the mind, it's just like mind blowing. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And someone put in the chat about purchasing land. Purchasing land is very easy, but you have to use extreme caution with buying land. Especially, it's nothing against Accra personally, but in Accra and the bigger cities, you have to use extreme caution when buying land because sometimes they'll sell the land to several different people, and now you all are arguing about it in court, and they took everybody money. They probably left the city. So you have to use extreme caution. That's why it's good to get with some people that's already living here who may have made some of these mistakes before, and they can say, "Hey, no, make sure you run your due diligence. You go to the lands commission and you run a search, and things like that." It's extremely important with buying land. Extremely important. Use extreme caution, and it's not to scare anybody.
Absolutely.
It's just I would hate for somebody to come and they spend potentially their life savings on land and it was a big scam. So you have to be very careful. But in the area we're in, the scams are a lot less likely, because you're not in that
That's
big
good.
city where the cost of living is really, really high. Like we're in a lower cost of living part of Ghana, and what I liked about it was like someone posted second Ezra in the chat, be his pilgrim on the earth. Amen to that. But another thing about the scriptures is, scriptures say the ones in the city will suffer the most. So that's why we didn't want to be in the big city. We want to be
Yeah.
somewhere where we can get in and out easily, get to the land, and live off the land. And it takes time to get used to that. I'm still learning about the animals. I'm still learning about chickens,
Absolutely.
and everything takes time. You buy animals, you have to wait for them to give birth. Like we bought all pregnant animals. For the most part, all the females were pregnant, just to kind of speed it up. But you're still just sitting
Sure.
around waiting, and then even with the chickens, you're waiting for them to fully mature and things like that. Like everything, it takes time. That's why it's good to come here and put your hands to the plow, sooner than later, and then just be
Yeah.
patient.
yeah, for
Exactly. Yeah,
me,
that's
even being a
probably.
woman, I'm like, if I'm going to move to Africa, it takes time for us to get used to as women. Like when we're used to city life, but it's like I ain't moved here to be feeling like I'm in New York. Like Accra to me felt too busy spiritually, and you kind of have a trouble thinking straight in that environment. And I'm like, I ain't come here for that.
Yeah.
Like adjusting to rural life and being away is a challenge, and you have to adjust to it. It's not as convenient, but at the same time, you gotta weigh like, what do you want? Like, do you want the city life where you're coming from, that environment, or do you want to be more low key? Like, I feel like that would defeat the whole purpose of moving to Africa if it's still kind of like the states, fast paced. So that's the reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Accra is very nice. It's very nice. There's a lot of things to do, and but it's pretty busy. It's pretty busy. But some people may want that.
Some
Which
people
is
like
fine.
we have diaspora friends that are in Accra, and they've been
Mhm.
there since before we came. They're still there, and they know the word too. They know the scriptures, and so they just prefer that environment. And so everybody's
Sure.
different.
Yeah, and there's more opportunities to make money in Accra. People have more money to spend in Accra, so
Yeah,
it is better opportunities there.
yeah. Somebody said
Sure.
that's where the government offices are located. Yeah, all the business that you would have to do, paperwork and stuff, is in Accra.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sure. Okay. And then how many hours of a drive are you from Accra?
It's about 3 hours,
3.
Okay, that's not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
When
but
we
but
were in Tonga, Tanzania, it would take 6 hours to get to Dar es Salaam.
Oh
oh,
wow,
okay,
that was a drive. Yeah.
that's a
Yes.
drive.
Yeah.
But
Yes, indeed.
but the good thing about it is, if we wanted to go to Accra, it would be like the equivalent of like $4 one way, give or take, $3-4 one way. You
Oh
just
wow,
hop on
that's
the
good.
van. Yeah, you just hop in the van, and then boom, before you know it, you're in Accra. So that's a good thing to get from here to Accra and back and forth. It's fairly cheap. It's very easy. You know,
Wow.
to travel back. It's almost better to hop in a van and go there because if you calculate the price of gas, fuel, you can just hop on a van and before you know it, you're there.
Yeah,
Wow,
someone
that's
put
awesome.
Cammy, yeah, that was our advice too. Like the Most High put people in our path before we came, and so we have people that we were connected to before we came, and so that was their advice too. Although they even have plans of moving out further, they were like go to Accra first to get adjusted and then move out. So that was actually good advice. So
Yeah.
That makes sense, absolutely. To get used to, you may have to do paperwork, or once you arrive, sometimes you just want to be like on a short little vacation just to get a feel of it. Then from there, and then you may even want to have like certain business connections or people you meet in the main city, and then you can spread out from there. So that's good.
Mhm. Yeah. And then
Absolutely. And
also,
then,
And then also, when you move out here, you think that you're all alone, but a lot of our people coming to
it's a
Ghana,
lot of
a lot of our people are coming to Africa. They all may not be a part of the faith or have the same exact views, but we're leaving the states in waves. It's just that
Yeah.
maybe in your inner circle in the states, nobody's talking about leaving. But like for example,
mhm.
when we came to Ghana, we were talking to an older sister of the faith, and she said, "Oh, I know somebody who's thinking about moving to Ghana." And then she connected us, and he was from Cleveland as well. But we never knew about each other until we moved to Ghana. And then the sister said, "Oh, I know somebody else is thinking of coming. That's thinking of going there. Let me connect you with each other. Sorry." And so what we did was we formed a Bible study group. And how it came to happen was me personally, I was praying for a gathering of our people, to be able to like keep the Sabbath and to be able to honor feast days and things like that. And I was praying, and then we were watching a congregation on YouTube, and I ended up falling asleep on it, and I had a dream. And this congregation is based out of Arizona, so I had a dream that we were called to move to Arizona, and then the moment we gathered together, it was time for the Exodus. So I woke up and I'm like, I don't think this dream was about anything, but I'm still gonna tell my wife anyways. So I'm like, I just had this dream that we were called to move to Arizona just to leave right away. Like we moved here, we put on our boots, we put on our backpacks, and we were out. So I'm just like, no, it was nothing. So I go on Facebook and I go on this congregation's Facebook page, and someone comments and says, "Hey, I live in Ghana, such and such, such and such." So I'm like, "What? We got a believer, a local believer that live in Ghana?" I said, "Wow." So I comment back, "Hey, we just moved to Ghana, this and that." So she gets busy. She's off of Facebook for a few hours. So then someone else comment, "Yeah, we're in Ghana as well. And then such and such is in Ghana too." So that's how the group came together, and we've been congregating on the phone. They're a few hours away, and we've been congregating on the phone ever since. And we congregate, and we're just all just trying to seek out our own salvation and break down the scriptures together. And it's really truly a beautiful thing. And so my dream, I feel that it was to gather with the people who's learning from the congregation in Arizona, just like us, and then until it's time for the Exodus. So I feel like the Most High, He's the one orchestrating all of this. It's just sometimes we're on a need to know basis, I think. So as time goes on, he let us know more things about our journey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to answer the question for how you say that.
Yeah, Kieran.
Someone answered. I believe that's about the yellow fever vaccine, and so this is in particular to Ghana, because I'm not sure. I think where you are, you may not have to get it, but for us personally, we saw COVID as the target. Like we were like, no, ever since it came out. Spiritually, for the yellow fever, we didn't feel that it was any harm, but we prayed. Sorry, we prayed beforehand, before the vaccine, and after, just in case there was something there. But for the other shot, that was the one that was off the table for us. So once they were like, "Oh, you don't have to get that," we were like, oh, "Okay." So just wanted to answer that question.
Yes. Thank you for answering that. That's awesome. Ghana is definitely leading the way, and they have been, since they gained their independence. Led the way for both independence for Africa as a whole, and then even bringing back the diaspora. So, kudos, respect, honor always has to go out to Ghana just because they literally paved that way. I don't think there's any other African country that has such a large impact on the diaspora, maybe aside from like Ethiopia, the way that Ghana does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And what's crazy about Ghana is when you get here,
Isn't Ghana doing something with the Burkina Faso?
I don't know. I got to look at it.
That's a big
and what's crazy about Ghana is when you come here, you be like, "Hey, that looked like my cousin. That looked like my uncle. That looked like such and such." It's like some of these people, they really look like us. They really look like they can be from Cleveland. And Steve Harvey said the same thing. He said, "These look like my people's from Detroit." He said the same thing. I couldn't really fathom it until we got here, and I'm like, they look like us. They look like us, and I know the majority are probably not our people, but some of them are. I feel like we are mixed in over here, but they look very similar to us. So it's good to be able to mix and mingle and just be around people that's not like afflicting you and trying to make your day bad each and every day, like in the States. Everywhere you go, they're afflicting you, being a Karen and all of that. It's just good to be away from that, and it's good to be able to take a step back and you can just take a deep breath and just kind of heal from all the trauma from the States. You can heal. You can start to like think clearly and really like appreciate your surroundings.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, guys. This has been a wonderful Testimony Thursday. We'll definitely stay in touch. I want to email you guys. We want to ask some questions like via email. But thank you so much for sharing. I know the people that are watching receive so much inspiration. I know 2025 people are like, okay, where do I go? I'm not staying in this country. So hopefully this testimony, this video has been able to provide them some level of inspiration.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Praise the Most High.
Yes, no problem.
Hallelujah.
So, do you guys have any last comments or I'll say advice? Do you have any advice for people that wants to move to Africa?
I would say, to answer the question, yes, that's our YouTube channel. We shall see Zion. But yeah, I would say advice is, if you can, um, try to figure out like some type of income for yourself, because that's like a really big hurdle, for our people coming here is income. But number one, uh, walk in obedience. Number two, walk in faith. They go hand in hand. And your income may not be all that extremely high here, at least for a little while. But just, hold on to your faith. Things will get better. I don't think we're necessarily meant to come here to necessarily make a whole lot of money and get rich. Some of our people think that, but just come for like your health, and obedience, your health, to get away from the craziness. So set up some income. Download a VPN so you can access your work website, so you can access your bank accounts, because we got locked out checking our bank accounts because we didn't have a VPN. So, and once they block you and you're not there in person, it's very hard to gain that access back if you can. So please download a VPN. It protects your identity online, and then you'll be able to check your accounts and things like that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that. And then my advice is the same. It's just keeping the Most High first. And honestly, some of the things that you go through, most of the things, you won't really even recognize yourself when the Most High gets done doing what He wants you. So it's like once you just get in the proper alignment, yeah, you won't even understand a lot of the stuff until you come. To be honest, it sounds weird, but that's just how the land works. So once you come and you're putting Him first, He will order your steps, and don't jump out there on your own. Stay in alignment with Him because He's doing all these new things with us. And so a lot of the things you won't even be able to recognize that He'll be doing. So that's my
And I remember, when we were in the States, we were watching your channel. We were watching Journey with us and just trying to get ourselves mentally prepared. And I remember, some months ago, you gave some really good advice. You said, make sure you mingle with the locals because they have a particular set of skills that most of us do not have. So get with the locals, and I know that some of them are living in poverty. It seems like, help, be charitable, be hospitable, help people out. What's $5 to you can make a huge difference in somebody else's life. So if they ask, I mean, if it's in your power, help. Be charitable. That's what the scriptures say. Live according to the fruit of the
That's
spirit,
right.
and they are pretty loyal, and they will help you, whether you give them a lot of money or not. They just have that mindset to help, so why not help back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you to Cameron Carr for the super chat. I know somebody else gave a super chat. Thank you so much. May you be blessed tenfold. I think that wraps everything up. Anything else you want to say?
No, like you guys said, the Most High is doing a new thing. So we really have to be in a position to accept that. And, we got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's what
Yeah.
Africa really teaches us. That's a blessing. Like, just like you said, the Most High is doing a new thing. That really just hit my heart. Like, wow, you really don't think about that until like it's really happening. So
Yeah.
until it's right in
yeah,
your face and you don't even recognize it. That's when it hits you.
exactly,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we can give
exactly. So
advice, but I believe each person's journey is going to look different depending on who they are, what He wants them to work on, who He what He wants them to be in this season. All these things matter. So
Yeah, and for everyone that's watching, if the scriptures do say to flee Babylon, which means the city of confusion, that's America. If the Most High is personally calling you out, listen. Like, who cares what
listen,
the congregation leader is saying? He's telling everybody, no, hang back. We're all gonna go together one day. Who cares about that? Like, you get you and your household on one accord and go. Follow the Most High, because why fear the one that can destroy the body? Fear the one that can destroy the body and the soul. Be obedient. Follow the Most High. Get up and go. Get out of there. He may not even say Ghana. He may say
Yep.
Tanzania. He may say South Africa. He may say Nigeria, for example. But get up and go. You know,
Or he may say stay put to the second Exodus. You mean you
that's
never
possible too.
know. You never know. But we do know
Yeah.
the 400 years ended in 2019. So
Mhm.
I mean, there's a
Big
lot
old
of
shit.
leverage there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Yes.
leverage.
Yes. So guys, yeah, thanks for coming on. Email us your information so we
Okay.
can put it in the description. And yeah, this was a good testimony Thursdays for the people that is in the chat. If you guys want to come on Thursdays, let us know. Email us, and we are doing a new thing. So all praises to
Yeah,
the Most
that's right.
High.
Yeah, and make sure you subscribe to us and subscribe to us. We shall
Yes.
see Zion. Follow our journey for tips and things that we're doing. That way, when you come, you know we've worked some of those things out already. You know, wherever you end up landing, you know, to kind of give you a head start. We have to get back to helping one another out.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, that's it. We appreciate you guys. You guys have a good evening, good night.
You
You
too.
Yeah,
too.
we'll definitely stay in touch.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shalom. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Yeah,
Talk to you
shalom,
soon.
shalom, peace.
All right.
Shalom.
Bye.
Bye.